When I look back at the mistakes we've made,
So many.
oh my god, really, really bad. And so in this video, we will go through the 5 top that has cost us at least 200 grand purely in mistakes, plus millions in opportunities. So I really hope, guys, that you can learn from these and then you can do better than us.
Don't make the same mistakes that we made.
No. And we will go through the smallest one that we've made to the absolutely biggest one. You will see there is a range. And so let's start with the top, number 5, which in my opinion is a small mistake.
Let's just go back a step before we go into the 5. We've been in business now for how many years?
10.
About 10 years. So when we first started out, we thought that things were going to be very different to how they were. So
we really thought they were going to be different.
we had jobs in the corporate world as consultants, working in big companies, advising senior managers, leaders.
Yes.
You did some private consulting for some very large companies, working with very senior people.
Yes, that's
so we came
true.
off
I was
all
a
of
management
that.
consultant,
Came off
charging a lot of money for a day's work.
and helping these big companies do amazing things, right?
Yeah.
And I was working in a big company, helping them do some pretty cool
so we
stuff
thought we knew
as
it
well.
all.
We thought we knew a lot of stuff, and we were adding a lot of value to those big giant companies that we were
But
part of the cog in.
part of
right?
the cog in, but having your own business, your own product,
And small business,
getting your own traffic, that is just completely a different ball game.
that's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, completely. And so the smallest mistake that I've made,
Number 5.
thinking back, number 5, is that I really thought my products were going to sell themselves.
I think so many people do think that though.
Yeah, and so I started a business that was called Cosmo Shoes.
I love the business card that you used to have for Cosmo Shoes.
I even had a business card. Who the F needs business cards these days? So anyway, so that's something don't do. I don't think the business cards these days make sense. But anyway, I did spend money on that. I did spend money on the logo. And I had these beautiful handmade shoes, importing them from Argentina. The wholesale price was bad. Even like the wholesale price that they were giving me was 100 USD a pair already. That's like
Did you
crazy.
buy them physically in person in Argentina, or did you have them?
I went physically to Argentina on a completely different trip.
Okay.
And fell in love with all these shoes. I went through all of the stores that you can imagine in Argentina that sell the highly specialized handmade dancing shoes that you can just wear elsewhere. And so at the time, being single, ready to mingle, the shoes, I just loved them. Anyways, I just holding them was like, oh my God, this is like a piece of jewelry. And so I got a business idea, right? When I was there, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to import this to Australia. I'm going to negotiate a wholesale price and I'm going to sell this in Australia. There is nothing like this in Australia and it's just going to be incredible.
Yes. I love the enthusiasm though.
Yeah, I was so enthusiastic. I loved, I had so much passion for the product.
But most entrepreneurs start their business in this same way.
And I had so much passion for the product. I still love those shoes, but it was a bad business model. And the smallest mistake out of that was that I really presumed that the shoes were going to sell themselves. Because I fell in love with them and I couldn't stop myself getting 5 pairs. And so I presumed that every single other woman in Australia, which by the way, Australian women in general are not like me at all. So how did I presume that every other Australian woman was going to be the same avatar as me if that is already not the case? But anyway, so I presumed the shoes were going to sell themselves and so I didn't try to sell them.
Yes.
I tried to sell them, but I wasn't really properly marketing, selling those products, driving traffic.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm just going to show a picture of the shoe.
And people will want it.
And everybody will fucking want it. Excuse me. Oops. So that was my thinking. I was like, what do you mean you have to market and sell these products? How would you not buy it?
Yes.
That was my thinking. And I even remember, because at the time, I had this brilliant, old new idea that I was going to start with a shoe party. And so I started...
Like the Tupperware parties.
Yeah, like the Tupperware parties, except for shoes. And so I bought bottles of sparkling wine, got, all of these people into my house who were like friends of friends of friends of friends of friends, whatever. And I was just like, having a great time.
The hostess with the mostest.
The hostess with the mostest. It turned into an effing party. They had a great time. You know, everybody was drinking my champagne.
But did anyone buy the shoes?
And nobody freaking bought the shoes. And then at the end, I remember that like one of my friends wanted to give me like feedback, which I didn't want to listen to. And she was like, you know, Silvia, like girls had like some feedback and they were like, you know, maybe they would have bought a pair, but you didn't really try to sell it. And I was like, what do you want me to like sell it to you? I'm not going to sell it to you. And so I didn't sell it and I didn't sell any of those shoes.
I think at that time as well, you had a different mindset. We both did as well.
Yeah.
This was before we met.
Yeah.
But about what
does it take?
What does it mean to be a salesperson
and what
as
does
well?
it take to market and sell your product?
Yeah.
You know, that you've got to, like I had those in that moment, you know, forget now social media or traffic, organic, you know, paid, forget all of that. Just the very basics of I had hot leads inside my place. They couldn't leave until I opened the door. I had them all boozed and they knew that they were going to a shoe party. Like that was an art not to freaking sell anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, so the products are not going to sell themselves, guys. They're just not going to sell themselves. You've got to market and sell your products. Like, really understand the emotional state you want your ideal customer to be in. What are the features? What are the benefits? Urgency, scarcity, and effing go for gold. I didn't do any of that. Although there was so much urgency, not urgency, but scarcity. Like, I had enough pairs from enough designs so that those women at that moment in time could each of them get 1 to 2 pairs. So imagine the variety of sizes. How many did I have to order?
How many SKUs you had,
How many SKUs I had, the varieties, and each pair was handmade, so slightly different. And a cost base was like from 100 to 120 USD.
Yeah.
Ouch.
All right.
And that's the smallest mistake.
Just
saying.
So let's move on. Next one is getting into a low margin, high competition territory. Ouch. This is a painful one. I've got some personal experience. When I was 17 years old, with one of my good buddies, we opened an online business together.
Kristen's first online business.
Macro technology.
This is how long he's been in business. He's just 18 now. Just saying.
Macro technology.
No, this was honestly like
realistic
20 years ago.
IT solutions at realistic prices. That was our motto back then. No joke. That was the motto. And anyway, we would source from the wholesaler and manufacturer computer equipment, computer parts, computer printers, laser printers, inkjet printers, monitors, all the accessories, and we actually built computers as well. So the internal components like the chips, the memory, the hard drives, like all the things you needed.
All the boring stuff.
We had a one-stop shop for all of your computer needs. Realistic solutions, realistic prices. And macrotech.com.
And you were one of the first ones in the door. So imagine if you didn't get into low margin, high competitive industry, where that business could have been right now. Because you were one of the first guys in. Like this was over 20 years ago.
20 plus years
and you were
ago.
selling online over 20 years ago. Guys, Shopify did not exist.
I was going to say the platform, I remember.
Shopify was not even like a thing yet.
I remember the platform clearly, OsCommerce, OS-commerce, open source commerce. It was really one of the first major online shopping engines, well before Shopify and BigCommerce.
Tell us about the mistakes.
There's many,
yes.
But where to get started was the fact that we were selling low margin, high competition goods. So it's a classic mistake. Like you need a new printer, like Hewlett-Packard printer or a Canon printer. Well, we've got that, but so did everyone else, right? All of the traditional retailers, they also had that too. So why would someone buy it from us? And we can sell it cheaper. We can sell it cheaper than the big guy because we don't have all of the overhead costs.
But
we're cutting into the margin.
17-year-old Kristen was working for free after school, late into the night, and mom was making the phone calls.
So basically,
after work, after she came from work.
So on our website, we would mark up the prices,
or sometimes on the company.
There was no phone calls. We didn't do any phone calls. It was all online, pure play online e-commerce retailer. But the markup was just too low. and the margin, we'd have to order, like obviously someone would place the order. It was drop shipping back then, right?
Yeah.
Like someone would place the order for the $600 printer, and we would order it from the supplier and ship it straight to them.
Yeah.
But the margin was like a few percent. So it was...
Yeah.
And then what happened over time, the competition just got more and more and more and
The
more.
competition also learned what you guys had major advantage in, and that was being online. Competition didn't even know how to go online.
Yes.
And so whilst they were slow, I think you also didn't realize that you had that head start where you could have really just done it slightly differently, increase the price, increase the value, just do few niche products really, really well.
But we were a value-added reseller, a VAR, as they call it in the industry, and we were selling the same stuff that everyone else sells, so there's really no differentiation either. So it's like high-cost goods with low margin, highly competitive.
Yes.
It's a bloodbath. You don't want to be in that industry.
Low conversion rate, unless, unless you're like 17-year-old Kristen back then who had parents who gave him room to live in, food to eat, and paid, for schooling. If you don't have that, then don't do this.
So this is a business model not to go into.
Yes.
So don't do it.
Don't do it.
All right. Number three, and
guys, this mistake cost us much more money than any of those two before. It's really pretending being bigger than we were. I don't know if you're doing this, but if you're doing this, stop it right now. It's like the communication as a big company, like, oh, we are a team of professional designers who bring the best home decor to your house.
If you have an inquiry, send us an email and one of our friendly support agents will get back to you within 48 hours.
Yes. Yeah, like any of that, when
it's not true.
When it's not true, because that actually loses the personality. It also has lower perceived value, lower conversion rates. It also is higher on returns, disputes, and just like customers who are just going to take you for a ride, because there is this attitude out there with consumers that, oh, it's a big business out there, can afford it.
Yeah.
But if you're a small business, you communicate that you're a small business. You say, I only have small batches. All of this is handmade with love. Sorry, we don't do returns because we're a small business. They're going to treat you completely differently.
Yeah, different perception.
Comparing to,
and just,
we're a team of specialists here.
Side note, but related to this, is there was a person that we did some online dealings with many years ago now, but there was a conversation we had where he was like, I'll have my people speak to your people. But he was a one-person business and we were a tiny business. Two-person business. So just the idea of my people speaking to your people, it's like, what do you mean? Like,
what do you mean? Yeah, at least he said, at least she wasn't us. But the other thing that we did really badly, pretending to be a bigger brand than we really were, was just hiring too many people.
Yes.
For too many things.
Because we heard from the consulting days, we had the idea that you need to hire someone before...
Or from the corporate days.
That's what I mean, before you're ready. Like there's an expression,
yes,
hire before you're ready for it, because otherwise it'll be too late.
Yes.
So we hired people, all right.
But
the wrong people and paid way too much money. Yes. And wrong people for the wrong roles, and probably even the wrong roles to begin with.
Yeah, and we got very tiny, big, like nothing, no value back.
We burned through a lot of money.
A lot of money. Like this mistake alone.
This is where the film editor puts the money in burning on fire.
Yes. This mistake alone is like worth 150 grand at least. It's just money going out the door.
Yeah.
Our own
Insert
money.
the flushing toilet sound effect.
Yeah. Now thinking that one of the mortgages could have been paid off. Oh, whatever. So, but we learned tuition fee. Yeah, and one of the things we also learned when you hire too many people and you hire them for the wrong jobs, and they know that they're in the wrong job, that they are not adding value. They start, and we learned this from one of our mastermind friends, Bill Allen. They start treating your business as a cash machine.
Personal ATM.
Yes, yeah. And they know that there's our number. They're probably already looking for a job elsewhere. But while the cash machine is giving, they're coming for more and more and more.
Yeah.
And we made this mistake where we only realized at the very end that one of the employees that we're already paying crazy stupid money to, more than we were paying ourselves, was doing 5 other things on our clock. And we were like, what? You're doing 5-hour things on our clock and you even tell us about that? So we're like, okay, something is going terribly wrong here.
Yes.
All right, mistake number 2 that was even bigger than this one.
Yes.
So I'm already not counting the money, but a really bad mistake was what we call low CLV to CAC ratio. In other words,
customer lifetime value divided by the cost of acquisition.
Exactly.
So the customer spends a small amount of money, but you spend a lot of money to
get
acquire
the
the
customer.
customer. Really, it should be the other way around, where the
Yes.
customer spends a lot of money and you acquire them for a little bit of money.
Exactly. And the first time that it really hit us that this is a problem, it wasn't until we were multiple years in, and we watched Alex Hormozzi's training. By the way, amazing, huge fan.
Yes.
And he broke
you,
this
Alex.
down. Thank you, Alex. And we were like, fuck. We're like, oh my God, how did we not see this before? And so essentially, one of the famous quotes from Dan Kennedy, one of the fathers of marketing, direct marketing is that the person or the business who has the most money to spend on marketing to acquire the customer wins.
The person who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins, I think is the quote.
Yeah. And then what happened was that whilst we were selling and we thought, the conversion rate was okay, the average order value was so low and we had no products to sell afterwards.
Yes, the average
our famous knife sharpeners.
Yeah, the average order value was low, which is one problem, but then we had no other products to sell.
Exactly.
So the customer lifetime value was the average order value, which was
low.
Yeah.
And so, for a while we were kind of just breaking even until what happens, very common, not just in marketing, but in any industry, inflation, cost increases. And so the cost of Facebook traffic.
And we learned from Dan Kennedy that the cost of all media platforms
will always
goes up.
It's not like a magic big brother that's trying to get you. That's just has always been the case and always will be the case.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't support that anymore. And we thought, it's gonna go back to the level where it was. We were able to spend $25 to sell something for $30. It's gonna go back there. But before you know it, we're bleeding so much money on every single purchase. Thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. At some point, we were making only 30% back of what we were spending. But by the time we realized, it was too late.
Yeah. That was a painful one.
So please don't do that.
Don't do that.
Please don't do
that one.
Because this is a mistake that can get you really
I see the note here. It says we were... expletive. Yes. All right.
Something that Kristen would never say.
I would never say.
Unless I push him really hard and then he's like, ah!
Yeah. Okay. All right. So leading on, drum roll, the biggest one.
That summarizes all of these.
The thing that summarizes all of this, the 5 mistakes that have cost us 200 grand plus.
Millions in opportunities.
Really, it's thinking that we were smart and that we knew it all.
Yeah.
The big mistake was that we thought that we knew it all. Because we were educated, we thought that we had read a lot, we had done a lot,
yes,
we knew people.
That were experienced. We saw the internet was full of the 18, 19-year-old dudes who were just like, yo, do this, do that. And we're like, these guys know nothing.
We have a lot of education. We were climbing the ladder in the corporate world, doing really well. Thinking that just transfers over to your small business and you're successful immediately to the top, right?
And that's not the case. And so whilst your skills are transferable, and now I can see a lot of our skills were transferable, a lot of the skills that will be transferable you're going to need later, but at the beginning, you just need to catch up with what you don't know, and we were not doing that because our big egos were so giant, while the business was so small, but the ego was really giant.
That's a good way of putting it.
And so we were really reluctant to hire those mentors, and it wasn't until it was almost too late when we had to hire mentors who were 5 times as expensive and ended up spending another 200 grand on mentors to help us really bridge the gap and fix the problem. Like there was this one time where I was really reluctant to hire this one guy who I knew he was going to help us, but he was a 19-year-old dude living with his parents in a small town
Out of the city.
out of the city in like effing middle of nowhere. And I was like, we're not going to hire him because he said he was going to charge us over $2,000 every single month. And it's going to take at least $8,000 to fix this. And I just was like, I'm not going to do that. Maybe he can learn from me because my ego was so big.
I can teach him a thing or two.
Yeah. Anyway, we did end up hiring him.
Yeah, and we did spend, what, 50 grand, 60 grand more, yeah?
Yeah,
something like that.
just with him.
Over the course of a 18-month period or so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then later on, we ended up paying more mentors and more marketing gurus out there, but I'm so glad we did that.
Yes, we learned an enormous
So please don't do that. So I don't care if you guys are going to join our program or somebody else's. I really don't care. But please do learn from somebody. Pay someone for information. Don't just stick around on YouTube learning for free, because whilst all of the information is here, you do want somebody who's going to take you through the process step by step without any of these cutting down the time.
You need to follow a system as well, because the thing is, there are many gurus, there are many mentors. There's not just one way of doing things. There's like a million different ways that you could do things. So if you follow one mentor's thing for that and another mentor's for that, another one for that, it's going to you're going to end up all over the place, right?
Yes.
So you really got to kind of like pick one mentor and go for it and stick with it for 3, 6, 12 months, right? 2 years,
and just do their system
and do the thing, because it's not going to happen immediately overnight, but it is going to happen. There's a famous TV commercial for that. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen. I think it was one of the shampoos.
I don't care if you're going to join our program or somebody else's, but you join one.
Yeah, and stick to it.
And if you do want to work with us, there is a link down below.
We'll put that down there.
All right, so these things
cost us a lot of money. Don't make these same mistakes.
And if you want other things that are going to bleach you dry, just up there.
See you in the next video. Let's go.